Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about The Flash. 4 episodes this time, because I'm sorry for my delay, but that is episode 704, Central City Strong, which premiered March 23rd, 705, titled Fear Me, which premiered March 30th, 706, titled The One with the 90s, premiering April 6th, and then 707, Growing Pains, which premiered April 13th, 2021, and I'm recording April 27th, 2021. That is week 2 of the 2-week hiatus of The Flash. New episodes come back next week. So sorry for delay. A lot of things came up in my personal life. But now I really want to talk about these episodes. So let's strap right in. So huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episodes already, please go do so first and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. Other video reminders are up on screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those. These 4 are going to be pretty interesting because this is technically what was supposed to be the start of season 7 if COVID hadn't forced the team to move those last 3 episodes into the start of this current season. So it'll be interesting to see where the focus is for this. The plan for this recap video is I'm going to go episode by episode. I tried recording it previously of going like each section by section, but then things got confusing. So I was like, nah, let's just go episode by episode. But this might not be as detailed because I didn't take as good of a notes when these episodes first premiered. So really, I just only have like phrases to help jog my memory. So let's see how that works out. So yeah. Otherwise, I really do highly suggest just go watch the episodes too. But if you want to hear what I have to say or what I remember or what I liked or didn't like about it, just hang on to the episode. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to try to do this, and I'm really going to try to do this in less than 15 minutes because that's when the new Supergirl episode is. But I'm going to stop rambling and let's get right into it. So let's start with 704. So timeline-wise, it's been 1 week since the events of 703, aka what would have been the season 6 finale. It also is confirmed in this episode that Iris has been back for a week from the Mirrorverse, but also we find out that she actually spent 3 months inside the Mirrorverse. So that means from episode 610, when she got pulled in at the very end of the episode, to her return in 702, that spanned over 3 months. I don't know if that actually tracks, but it's now stated when Iris says it to the support group that she's been in there for 3 months. So there's that. Villain of the episode is actually Abracadabra. And then at the end, we got a very surprise interruption by who we find out later is Frieza. And she's one of the lightning sources, which I will talk about in a little bit. But the opening scene of the episode is Barry's dinner date with Iris getting interrupted by a minor earthquake. But what they don't know is actually the cause of the 4 colored lightnings that we saw at the very end of 703. And that is lightning of red, blue, green, and yellow. What looked like it could either be like a fighting stance of some sort. Now with the storylines, because Abracadabra returns from the future, he takes a huge part in the major storyline where he's trying to pretty much get revenge on the Flash for something that he did do. And that's pretty much Abracadabra remembering what his life was supposed to be like before Crisis happened. But because Barry didn't die in Crisis, it completely changed the future. And that meant what Abracadabra was supposed to have and never happened. So now he wants to get revenge. You know the deal. So there's that. While that's all happening, we get the B storyline of the Mirrorverse aftermath. Not only with Iris having to deal with a bit of a PTSD type of a deal, but also, and her struggles with trying to write the article about what happened. But also we're seeing a bunch of support groups of people who only spent maybe a few days inside the Mirrorverse and what happened to them, also what happened to their families in dealing with an imposter, but then Iris trying to deal with the fact that she spent so much more time in the Mirrorverse than anybody else. So she has to come to terms with, instead of running away, she has to confront what it is that she went through to help her move forward. So that's something right there. I guess the third story you can kind of say deals with the 4 lightnings, which we find out is dealing with Frieza, and trying to figure out who it actually is connected. And then also another side storyline is that Caitlin was feeling a bit of headaches, but that turned out to be the last scene of the episode where we find out Caitlin and Frost reveal themselves to Cisco as 2 separate people, not both of them residing in Caitlin's body. So that's something there. Something I'm actually trying to remember on what was the most shocking moment of the episode for me. I think it was probably Frieza's interruption. Like, I really thought that Abracadabra would be the only villain that they would be facing, but then to have Frieza finally coming and interrupt the way that she did, it was just like, wait, what? Like, what is going on kind of a thing. And then how Barry's powers weren't really being as effective as he thought they would be. It was a huge surprise there. So there's that. But top favorite moments, I will say Iris' speech to the support group at the very end of the episode about her time in the Mirrorverse and how that they're here together and how she's there for them. I thought it was very powerful, and it also expressed just what she also dealt with too. It was great to have Allegra also in the support group with her. I kind of wish that other members of Team Flash were there with her, especially Barry. I wish he was there too. But it was just great moment for Iris to get that, like, to act, because sometimes, a lot of the times, just saying it out loud is the hardest thing you could do about something traumatic that you've gone through. So I'm glad that Iris was able to gain the courage she needed to do that. So there's that. Another favorite I did have was Caitlin and Frost being in the same room together. You know me, if you've seen any of my other videos, I love it when I get to see an actor playing two characters in the scene together, just because not only is that so cool to see visually, I'm also very intrigued by the actual process behind doing that. It's very, very technical and very difficult to do if you don't know how to do it. And just to see how they're able to do it and make it look like there are two different people in the room, I thought was pretty great. And I can't wait to see how that moves forward. Another favorite I did have was Abracadabra just standing to protect the Flash before his death. They were really coming to be on the same page, and then to find when Freyza attacked and then Abracadabra was willing to stand in front of the Flash as a protection. I thought that was pretty cool, which kind of leads into a P, because it kind of sucks that he died to save the Flash. I kind of would have wished what would have happened if Abracadabra went to the future while already having made amends with the Flash. It kind of sucks. It's one of those peeves that I have, is that when a character gets the redemption and then they suddenly die, it's just like, well, it seems like if they never got their redemption, they'd still be alive, kind of a thing. So that was probably the only peeve there, is the fact that he died. So there's that. But let's go to major tidbits very quickly. We found out that Chester is now interning as a Star Labs consultant when it comes to Cisco being the CCPD's metacrime specialist. We also see Iris promoting Allegra from being an intern at the paper to now being a staff writer. We also have Cisco name-dropping Laurel Lance and Mia Queen in reference to getting pre-crisis memories. And then Barry also name-drops Oliver when talking with Abracadabra. So that was also pretty cool to see all three of their names being mentioned. Not just indirectly referenced, but actually getting named was pretty cool. So let's go to 705, because I didn't have any questions from that episode. But 705, I believe, takes place shortly after 704, just because when Cisco sees Caitlin and Frost in two separate bodies, I'm pretty sure the episode opens up with them wearing all the same clothes. So that's why I'm thinking it's shortly close to each other. The villain of the episode is Psyche, who happens to be one of the Lightning Forces as well, which I will talk about later on. Opening scene shows Barry replaying his fight with Freyza that led to the death of Abracadabra. And then just shortly after that, I believe he is made aware of the whole Caitlin and Frost separate bodies thing. Now, storylines for this episode. Got three different ones. We got Nightmare Strike, which leads to Nightmare Strikes, which leads to them getting Speed Force Nora arriving very weak and saying that one of them is after her, which was Psyche, who can absorb Barry's power just like Freyza had did. Psyche is pretty much putting fear into everybody, but Cecile's empathy helps them defeat Psyche. But because it diminishes Barry's power, he has to go into the cryopod to heal, which puts him in a comatose state. Second storyline deals with the Frosty split between Caitlin and Frost. So while Caitlin is trying to do everything to merge them back together, Frost does not want to, because she wants to live a separate life instead of like a half-life through Caitlin. And then the third storyline is Kramer wanting a killer, and that is Kramer coming to the CCPD office to introduce herself to Joe and Iris, but Iris is suspicious of Kristen Kramer, and Joe finds out that Kramer is actually there for Killer Frost. Now, the last scene of the episode shows Speed Force Nora waking up and revealing to the team that Psyche and Freyza were her two attackers, and that they are just like her in regards to like energy sources. So while she's the Speed Force, she thinks the two of them are their own separate forces, which we will talk about in the next episode. Now, most shocking moment of the episode, I think it would have to be the fact that Nora revealed that that Psyche and Frasier could be on the same power level as her. Definitely wasn't expecting that. Keep in mind, I don't read the comics, so I only know what the TV show has given me. So I thought that was pretty interesting that that was a possibility. Favorite moments of the episode. Definitely the Caitlin and Frost moments. Again, like I said before, love it when we get to see Danielle Panabaker playing two different characters opposite each other. That's just amazing thing to have to shoot, but then also visually it's just interesting to see her playing two characters when you know it's not possible she's doing that. It's not possible for her to do that in the moment kind of thing. I hope it makes sense. And then another favorite I had was the team up that Barry got with Cecile. She got to use the thinker chair. She got to push out her empathy power that was a little bit growing more in the earlier episodes of the season. So it was interesting to see her kind of be the one to take down Psyche instead of Barry's power. So that was kind of cool there. Top peeves, none really come off at the top of my head. Yeah, so we'll just leave it at that. Major tidbits of the episode: Chester, Allegra, and Camilla are absent in this episode. And because of the whole fear aspect, we do see Thawne as a reverse Flash and Savitar in Barry's nightmare, but they're both masked up, so we don't see their actual faces. So literally it could have been anybody behind the mask playing the part, but so there's that. Random questions. Is Psyche really gone for good, or did he just retreat and he'll be back later? Second question. With Frost being a wanted fugitive, do you think that would be a motivation enough for her to merge back with Caitlin? Apparently not, after what happens in 707. But I'm just wondering, would that have been an option, and if she knew? And then still question, is Tom Cavanaugh returning? Because now that's 2 episodes we haven't had him. Even though I believe, yeah, and it still says he's not leaving the show, but like, where is he? So there's that. But let's move on to 706, the one with the 90s. So timeline, I believe it's shortly after the events of 705, because like I said, the end of 705 shows Barry getting into the cryopod to heal, and then the beginning of it is pretty much him shortly after. So like he's still in the cryopod, and the team's wondering like, okay, what do we do now while he's healing up, kind of a thing. The villain of this episode is Dion, who they are naming the Temporal God, but he is one of the forces, which we will talk about shortly. That they have to deal with. Opening scene of the episode shows Natalie, I think she's a waitress or a barista at Jitters, getting into weird confrontations with a knight and a T-Rex before it jumps into 24 hours earlier. And it definitely has to deal with the Temporal God. So the storylines deals with time loop troubles, where we get Cisco and Chester finding themselves in a time loop on December 4th, 1998. And it's specifically, for Dion, it's the day that he pretty much, his future changed due to a football injury, I believe. I'm still confused about why that date was so important for him. Because as a god, it's like, were you always there? I'm not sure. But for Chester, it was important because December 4th was the last day he ever saw his dad before he died the next day due to I think a car accident or a plane crash, something like that. So he got to spend one day where he just got to know his father as an adult, kind of a thing. Second storyline deals with gaining perspective, I'm calling it. And this is with Nora, or not Nora. Well, yes, technically Nora. Speed Force Nora spending time with Iris and getting to know Barry and learning a bit more about the face she chooses to wear. And Iris trying to tell her that, like, yeah, it's a sore subject, but Barry finds comfort seeing his mom in some way, shape, or form again. And kind of being more opening in the Speed Force, kind of a thing. But the last scene of the episode shows Joe telling Frost that Kristen Kramer is looking to arrest Killer Frost, and Frost is not going to hide. So there's that. Most shocking moment of the episode. I guess the fact that Cisco and Chester were able to time travel without Barry. I mean, it was very cool to see someone else doing it aside from the speedster. But, so that was kind of cool. Which leads into my top favorite moments, which is Chester and his dad. That scene in the garage, it was just very, Chester killed it. It was just, I feel like it was a moment that he needed understanding for. And I'm really glad he got it. And I'm glad that he was able to spend the day building up that tech that he needed with him, and actually getting a day he can actually truly remember as an adult because you know, it was when you're a kid, sometimes your memory is a little hazy. So there's that. And then also another favorite I had was just Chester and Cisco in general as they time travel, both trying to get back into the swing of the 90s. Cisco accidentally thinking he was like a kid, whatever age he was in the 90s. I think it was 6, 7, or 8 or something. So it's just interesting to see the two of them bonding together and then just experiencing time travel for themselves. So that was pretty cool. Top peeved moments. I did have the peeve of Iris inviting Speed Force Nora to stay with them without talking to Barry first. The reason why I thought it was a peeve is just Barry's reaction to it. It wasn't like he wasn't very welcoming, or he wasn't very like open arms about it. He seemed very hesitant and like very suspicious of the fact that like, okay, why is the Speed Force here? Why do you want to come stay at my house? A little bit more on guard. And it kind of peeved me that instead of Iris taking note of that, she just invited the Speed Force to come stay with them. I mean, like, yes, I get that it was a gesture, like it was a very kind gesture, but at the same time, Iris, it's not your place. It's not just your place. You have to ask your partner if they're okay with that too. So that was just a small peeve that I can remember, but let's move on to major tidbits. Again, there was no Allegra, Cecile, or Camille, though they said that Camille did text Cisco. So there's that. We did get a huge callbacks to the 1998 with Blockbuster, Space Jam, Beanie Babies, The Matrix, even though they said The Matrix was in 1999. So that kind of was a way to break the time loop that they were in. So that was something there. We also have Caitlin and Frost having different stylistic choices as Frost moves into Caitlin's apartment. Definitely in their choices in painting. This was also the episode where Cisco actually names the four forces of the lightning. So that is speed being yellow, the speed force being yellow, the still force being green, which was Dion, the strength force, which is Freza, which was supposed to be red, but I'm pretty sure I remember her being purple, and then the sage force, which was meant to be Psyche, and he's supposed to be blue, but I do remember him being purple. So I'm wondering if they were just a merger because red and blue make purple. So that was something that I was wondering there. Oh, damn. Okay, so that was something there. Random questions, though, from this episode. Barry's reaction to Iris inviting Speed Force Nora to stay in their guest room looked like he was suspicious of her and not comforted by her presence. Do you think that's me overreaching, or do you think that was something, like there's a reason for him to be suspicious about Speed Force Nora? Also, that leads to my second question of what if the Speed Force is trying to use Team Flash to hunt down the other forces like her so that she could take their power for herself? I mean, I'm trying to figure out why would the other forces want to team up and attack her? Like, that doesn't make sense, because then why would they not try to attack each other as well? Right? I don't know. I'm very sus about Speed Force Nora. And then the next question, if Dion was the time god, then who was Parker? Why did he spike with temporal energy? Or was anybody they flipped, because he spiked, but everyone else that they pointed the detector to, they didn't spike with temporal energy. So initially I thought maybe Parker spiked because he was being affected, but then that means everybody would have spiked. So I'm kind of confused on that. But let's move on to episode 707, Growing Pains. Like I said, I believe this takes place shortly after the events of 706, with the villain being Mark Blaine, aka Chill Blaine. He is a human that has been studying Frost's powers for years. He actually knows her alter ego as Caitlin before they separated from each other. So that's something. And the opening scenes of we'll talk about Chill Blaine later, but opening scene was Barry returning to breakfast after doing his Flash duties, only to come home to Speed Force Nora making breakfast for him and Iris. And he's kind of surprised by it. Also, he finds out that his powers are going out of whack due to his close proximity with Speed Force Nora. She claims it's because she's now like a battery to him, kind of a thing. So that's something. Storylines for the episode. I'm calling it a Frosty frame job for the first one. And the second one I'm calling Helicopter Speed Force Mom. So the first storyline deals with pretty much a meta kill with ice, or an ice kill that Kramer believes is Frost. So now she wants to hunt her down even more. But Frost is determined to search for the real killer, which happens to be Chillblaine. So the rest of Team Flash tries to help clear Frost's name without revealing themselves as Team Flash. So Barry finds out that the icicles don't match Frost's metahuman patterning. Instead, it's created by human, or a device by a human, kind of a thing. But eventually, Frost does come face to face with Chillblaine, and then she does eventually realize that she does need to pay for the crime she previously committed, so she turns herself into the CCPD after she disarms Chillblaine. The second storyline of Helicopter Speed Force Mom is pretty much Speed Force Nora pretty much trying to be everywhere that Barry is, to the point where she really is like a helicopter parent. She wants to be there to help him. She wants to help boost his powers, which he's going to need to face off against the other forces. But by boosting Barry's power, he now has a moment where they're out of control, and when she appears, they kind of go out of whack randomly, and if that's around other people, then that could cause problems. So this leads to a bit of tension between the two of them, because Barry, it's kind of like when the adult child feels suffocated by their parent kind of hovering, and then they tell them like you kind of have to go, type of a thing, and then huge tensions arrive between them. So there's that. The last scene of the episode shows Barry apologizing to Speed Force Nora about his attitude towards her, and we have his powers being back under control, so he has stabilized once again. So that's something there. Most shocking moment for me was Chillblaine being revealed in the very first episode, because I was under the assumption that he was going to be one of the season's villains for the first half of the season. So I thought maybe we'd get Chillblaine in the suit and then completely masked up, and then we won't know who the identity of him is until like a few episodes later. I thought that was going to be the case, but to have him revealed, meeting him first as a civilian and then meeting him as Chillblaine all within the same episode, that was kind of a shock. Again, due to my assumption that he was going to be a bit more of a threat as a villain. So that was a surprise there. Top favorite I did have for the episode was just Caitlin and Frost both wanting to protect each other and pretty much do everything they can, even though it might risk themselves, but the other one telling them, no, don't do it. We'll find another way. And they were doing that for both of each other. So that was pretty cool there. Peeves. No peeves really come to mind. I mean, I guess the fact that Cisco wasn't here, I would have loved it if he got to study a bit more of the Chillblaine's ice signatures, but I understand why Cisco couldn't be there. It's just one of those things where I really would have liked it if Barry, Cisco, and Caitlin got to work together to try to help clear Frost's name. But that's a very small thing. Tidbits, though, for this episode is the fact that it was actually said in the episode that Cisco was away on a trip with Camilla, who we haven't seen Camilla since her return from the Mirrorverse. So I'm still waiting for her to actually be seen again. And then also because of Cisco's absence, Chester has his first solo case as a CCPD consultant in this episode. So there's that. Random questions, though, from this episode. Was this supposed to be the start of a love-hate relationship between Frost and Blaine? I mean, she was definitely attracted to him. And maybe he was to her, too. Or maybe he was playing it up because he was trying to get to know her. But I have a feeling if we do see Chillblaine a lot more, I feel like it's going to be one of those love-hate things. Like she hates him, but he's fascinated by her. And yet eventually there's that pull between each other because of their commonalities of the ice powers. And then I feel like if anything, he's her feelings for him might have her swayed to the dark side again. I don't know. What do you guys think? I really don't know. But let's move on to predictions very quickly. Based off the promo for 708, like I said, it returns next week. That is May 4th. We see Frost going to trial, and there's the threat of her powers being erased, and Caitlin doesn't want it because she doesn't want to lose her sister. Naturally so. Plus, I also find it pretty cool that they call each other sisters. I thought that's really cool. But the synopsis for the episode reads, with Frost facing an unjust punishment for her past crimes, Caitlin goes to great lengths to save her sister. Meanwhile, Barry's efforts to protect Speed Force Nora lead to a shocking discovery. I do not know what the shocking discovery could be. I don't know if it's meant to be a good thing, if it's meant to be a bad thing. I'm still suspicious of Speed Force Nora. I think she is trying to take the other forces for herself. I don't trust her. So I don't know what this shocking discovery could be. But I do know a few spoilers that are up ahead for us in this season. So apparently, we are going to see Diggle's return, which I can't wait because I miss Diggle so much since Arrow ended. Also, we're apparently supposed to be getting the introduction of Bart Allen, who is the future son of Barry and Iris. I'm also wondering, though, is he from a future where their daughter Nora still exists, or is he from a future where she doesn't exist? Or is he from a different version where she does exist, but it's not the same Nora that they met in season 5? That'll be interesting. But yeah, we're supposed to see him. Don't know for how long, but it's more towards the end of the season. And then we're supposed to get the real Godspeed. We got a few copies of him last season, but apparently we're supposed to actually see the real deal for him. So that is pretty much about it. But I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about these episodes. What did you like about them? What do you think will happen next in this season? Let me know. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Love to hear your comments, your theories, all that good stuff. It's going to be very interesting, not only because COVID kind of changed the structure of this episode, because usually the 8th and 9th episode is usually when we would have had the crossover events, which probably would have been where the graphic novel would have bookended itself. But we don't get this episode. We don't get this season because we have 3 in the beginning. So unless they have 8 in total, like, I don't know how they're going to split this up, because there are supposed to be 2 different graphic novels in this season, but I don't know if that's also counting the Mirrorverse stuff that kind of had to end at the beginning part. I don't know, but I'd love to hear your theories about that. Also, if you want, check out my Tumblr page. Link for that is down below. I read blog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff. All found in one place. Go check that out. I am behind, but I'm hoping to catch up on that real soon. Now that my schedule has opened up just a little bit. So just keep an eye out for that. Also, WordPress account link for that is down below. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress. A little more organized, a little more detailed, but still a work in progress once again. That is going to be pretty much it, guys. I don't know how I'm going to structure these videos, if I'm still going to do doubles like I did. We'll have to wait and see. But I do hope you come back and see what I have to say about the episodes. Or if I talk about any other shows that you like, go check those out as well in the meantime. But until next time, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. And I actually beat my clock. I did it less than 30 minutes. I'm happy now of that. Okay, take care, guys. Bye for now.